Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's Kendra here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is a tutorial, and this is a tutorial for my Introducing the World to Second Life series. Those of you who joined my channel for that series, I apologize that I have not put out any videos out in a while towards it, but I'm here and we're doing it today. So hopefully you will see this video and actually, if you joined back when I started creating this series, you probably by now know some of these things. But if you are new to my channel and new to Second Life recently, I have an Introducing the World to Second Life series, and I will link the playlist for that down in the description below, because I have a couple other videos in this series, and they're just the most basic videos on different aspects of Second Life, which is a virtual world that you can join and live your best Second Life. So check out those videos if you want to. I'll also link put a link to it up in the corner of this video, up in the top right hand corner of this video for you, so that you can click on that as well. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the build menu. This is how you edit objects. You use this menu to edit objects, to move objects around Second Life, to do just about anything to an object that the object allows you to do. Certain objects you can only do certain things to. So it depends what you're doing and whether you can do that to an object. But we're going to just go through the basics today of moving an object and using the basic part of the build menu. And so we're up here on my platform, up in the sky, and because I figured this would be the best place to have space to do this tutorial. Alright, and I rezzed out just a simple kitchen cabinet here on my platform to explain the different the build menu. Alright, now there are two different ways to get to the build menu. The first way I'm going to show you is it's probably not the way you're going to access it, but it might be the easiest way for you to remember. You literally go up to the top and the menu items, and there's a build menu, and then you click on the first item which says build. Alright, you can do that. That'll bring up your build menu. It will also, it brings you to the creation, like if you're going to create an object. But if you want to edit an object, you have to click on, which is what we're going to be talking about today, is we're going to be talking about editing an object today. You want to click on this button that has the square with the arrow pointing towards it. You want to click on that, and that'll bring you to the edit menu, and then you just click on the item that you want to edit. So we're going to be editing this counter here. Okay, and the way you know that it's being edited is it kind of gets this yellow outline around it, and these different colored crosshairs, the blue, the green, and the red crosshairs. That's how you know you're editing that object. Okay? Alright, so basics of moving an item and editing an item. This is where you're going to go and use this menu. Now, let me show you the easiest way to get to this menu. I showed you I showed you the easiest way to get to it, but I'm going to show you the quickest way. Is if you right click the item, so click your right mouse button, and it brings up this pie menu. And if you've watched the Introducing the World to Second Life series, you saw that I did a video on this pie menu. And so the piece of the pie we're going to worry about today is the edit piece. So you click on edit and it just brings up this build tool, but it automatically selects the item and it automatically puts you in the move position, which is where you want to be. Okay, so we're going to move this off to the side because right now we don't need the menu. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the item. Now you notice, like I said, that the item is outlined in yellow and it has these crosshairs. These that are arrows. All right, it's very simple. You just grab a hold of the arrow and move it in the direction you want to go. So if you want to go left to right, you grab the green arrow. If you want to go front to back, you grab the red arrow. And if you want to go up and down, you grab the blue arrow. And it'll just move your item. Now, if you notice, I'm keeping my cursor in the center. There is kind of looks like a ladder on either side of my cursor with a bunch of numbers. That is it's giving you a grid with meters on it. Okay? And if you keep your cursor in between the two ladders or the two grids, you can move the item freely up and down. All right, as little or as much as you want. Okay. Now, if I move my cursor over to on top of the ladders or on top of the grids, it kind of snaps to the grid. So it snaps the position to the grid. This is very important when you're actually building something in Second Life, like you're building a house or whatever. It's not as important for when you're decorating your home. Sometimes it can help. But I don't use the snapping grid. I usually use the free movement. All right. And as you notice, every direction you go, you have that grid. And every direction, if you put your cursor over the grid, it snaps to those different notches on the grid. I am going to link in the description down below a video that Jazz from Jasland did. She did a very good tutorial on using the grid in the details, the best details of using the grid for decorating and lining things up and getting everything. And she does a really good job of explaining it, much better than I could do. So I'm going to link her video down in the description below for you so that you can check that out if you want more information on using the grid as a way to move your item. Okay. All right. So that's just moving your item. You can move your item left to right, front to back, or up and down. Okay. When you move an item too far down, it goes down into the ground. All right. And can even disappear. Okay. It doesn't just stop at the floor. So sometimes lining things up on the floor, you kind of have to zoom in and make sure that you're like it's not floating over the floor. See, like right now, this is floating. All right. Now it's placed down on the ground. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind. But your item can go down into the floor. So okay. Next thing on the menu underneath move is um, the rotate button. All right. And if you click on that one, you notice that the arrows turn into these circles. Okay. And these are the radius, like the axis that you can rotate your item on. Okay. So, for example, if we're going to rotate the item left to right, you can just grab a hold of it, the red circle, grab a hold of it and move it in a circle. Okay. Now, I'm going to move this over to the white so that you can see the grid better for this one because it's with the black background, you can't see it very well. Okay. So now that we have the white background behind us, you'll be able to see that the rotation also has a grid. Okay. So um, also something to notice, if you grab your item and you're not on one of these circles, if they don't like kind of highlight, if you just grab it, you can like move it in every sort of direction, which I do not suggest rotating your box or your item this way because it gets all screwy. But if you accidentally do that, which I do on a regular basis, the best thing you can do is just let go, and there's a way to undo your movement. All right, so you click the control button, and then while you're holding the control button down, you click the Z. All right, and I clicked it twice, and it actually moved it back over to the black side. All right, the more, and it's just an undo button. It undoes the movement, whatever the movement was that you made a mistake on. So Control Z will be your best friend when you're manipulating and moving and editing objects. Okay. Control Z only works for move and rotate. It does not work for the stretch, select face, or anything else. All right. So now, when you're ready to rotate your item, like I said, you want to grab hold of one of these circles. And if you notice, as I move my cursor over them, they kind of like pop out at you. Sort of, so that you know that's the circle you're rotating on. All right, so we're going to rotate on the blue one. So make sure my cursor is on the blue. All right. And when I do this, I like to make sure I can see the grid. All right, because the grid, with rotation, the grid is going to be your best friend. Because it will click. This is perfectly straightly pointed to the west. All right. If I wanted on a perfect diagonal between the west and the south, you can do that using the grid. All right. And it just clicks on all of these little notches on your grid. All right. But I use this to make sure that my items are perfectly straight. Okay. So I always, when I'm rotating, make sure I go to the grid. So if I want the counter to be pointing this way, all right, so I want the counter to be facing straight. All right, and then I'm going to move. Usually counters aren't in the middle of the room, so I'm going to move it up against the wall. All right, so I have it lined up against the wall. Okay, and say we're going to put, you know what? I don't want this counter on this wall. I want it on this wall over here. I'm going to click on my rotate button. I'm going to grab a hold of the blue circle. And if you notice, when you click on the blue circle, all the other circles disappear and the blue one stays there. All right, I'm going to move my cursor to the grid, and then I'm going to click it until it's straight. It's pointing straight north. All right, now I've got it moved, and I can move it up against the wall, and it's flat up against the wall. Now, the reason I say use the grid, because, all right, say I want to go back along this wall. All right, so I decide to rotate it, but I don't use the grid. So then it's just rotating on its own. And I can try to get it to go straight. So like, all right, I think that's pretty straight. But when I go over to the wall, part of it's going into the wall, but not all of it. Well, that's because to my eye it looks straight, but it's actually not perfectly straight. So I go back to my rotate, and I click on, make sure I'm clicked on the blue one, and I go to my grid. All right. I make sure it's pointed perfectly the right way, and now when I pull it out, it's up against the wall and it's perfectly straight. Nothing is clipping into the wall. Okay? That's why it's very important, and I think it's very important for you to use the grid for the rotation. Next item and last item we're going to go over today is stretch. Okay? Now, this item there's two different ways an item can be stretched. And I'm actually going to move this over to the black side because it's easier to see. So, to stretch an item is to make it bigger or smaller. All right, so you can click the stretch button up here at the top on your menu. And when you do that, little boxes pop up on your item. All right. On this item, there are little blue boxes, little red boxes, little green boxes, and then there are also little white boxes at the corner. So first we're going to talk about the colored boxes, the red, blue, and green boxes. And then we'll talk about those white boxes separately. Okay, so when you want to stretch an item, whatever area you want to stretch, you want to click on that little box. So I'm going to click on this little red box, and what I do is when I click on it, all the other boxes disappear, and then that grid also pops up. Now, again, when I pull it, it stretches out. In the center, it moves freely. Up at the top, it moves along the notches on the grid. This is very important for stretching as well, because if you want something, so this is 0 meters, this is a half a meter, this is 1 meter. So say you want two items that are the same size, well, if you use the grid, you can stretch it to the same size. All right? You can use that to make sure it's the same size. So now we're going to go into stretch mode. All right. This counter I made 1 meter wide. Well, I want this counter to be the exact same size. All right, so I make sure I click it's 0 meters, half a meter. Now it's 1 meter. All right, now these two counters are the same width. Okay. All right. Well, I kind of want it to be 1.5 meters. All right, so I'm going to stretch this one. Well, I got to stretch this one too. Now, if you notice, if I click this red square, the item stretches this way. Okay. If I click on this red square, the item stretches this way. Okay. So whatever side, whatever direction you want the item to stretch, that's the little square you want to grab. Okay. Now I'm going to use the grid. All right. I want it to be 1.5 meters. Now my two items are the same size, and that's why using the grid is important for stretching an item. And now, so you got the point with the colored ones. Now there's these little white boxes in the corner, and these boxes in the corner keep the proportions of the item the same, yet it makes the whole thing as a whole bigger. All right, you can make it smaller or you can make it bigger as a whole instead of worrying about the width. Everything proportionately grows in size. Okay, so that's what the white ones do. Again, there's a grid. All right, you can make it 1.5 meters bigger, or you can make it 0.5 meters small. You know, depends on what you're looking for. All right. One more thing about stretching objects. There are some objects that do not have these blue, green, and red stretch items, and that's going to happen sometimes. So I'm going to pull out an item that doesn't have one of those. All right, we're going to pull out a tub. All right, so we're going to pull out this copper tub here. All right, so now this tub, let's move it over here. All right. Now, when I click on the stretch items, there's no more red, blue, and green, so you can't stretch the item in a certain direction. You can only stretch the item proportionately. So, that is the basics of editing objects in Second Life. And these are things that are important to know when you are manipulating objects in Second Life. Alright, so that is the basics of building. I probably will have another video coming out in the next my next probably video coming out will be some little tricks that I use regularly when I'm decorating, but are a little bit more advanced than I could put in this video. The only trick I gave you was the Control Z, and I think that's important because that is that's a lot of times when you're building when you're doing things as a new avatar, you mess up a lot sometimes. It's just natural. You're still learning, so to be able to know how to undo your mistakes, I think is an important skill to know right away. So, and it's not a hard skill to learn. And it'll save you in the long run. All right. I want to thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. Um, in Let me know in the description down below if it was helpful, and if there are any things that you need a little bit more clarification on, because I know I can sometimes get a little wordy with things, and then it's not as clear of what I was doing. So just let me know if there's anything you need a little bit more clarification on. And I'll either answer you in the comment or I will include it in my next video. Um, so hopefully that will, some way, somehow, I will answer your question. Okay? If you are new to my channel, I'd love for you to stick around. I am going to get back into these helpful tutorial videos in the future. So if you're looking forward to those, if that's important to you, then stick around and subscribe. Click the notification bell so that you get notified in YouTube when I post a video or I go live. Another way to find out when I go live is to join my Discord. I try to post in there at least like far in advance. You get a notification that I am going to be doing a live video. Usually that's for live videos. All right. And also, it's a fun place to hang out, a good place to ask questions to people who are more experienced in Second Life. That would, I have wonderful, wonderful people in that group who are so helpful and are very willing to help. So if I don't get to answer the question, then one of the other members in the group will definitely help you out. Or we'll at least try, you know. I've even seen people offer to meet up with somebody in World to kind of troubleshoot the problem and help somebody out with it. So that's how awesome my group of my community is. So definitely join the Discord, and that's linked in the description down below. I have an Inworld group. Where I occasionally put out notices. Nothing, I don't spam you every day, so don't worry about that. You're not going to get spammed every day for it. But I also understand how valuable those group spots are, so, you know. And that is it. So I hope it was helpful. I hope to see you in my next video, and I hope you have a great evening, morning, afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. And I will see you in my next video. Take care, all. Bye.